Well, my daughter is a consultant within the NHS.
My sister was a mental health nurse for many years.
So I've got a friend called Alice, and she is a recovery nurse. So people who go in for sort of, operation surgery and things, she'll be there when you come round.
Hello, welcome to Easy English. So today, I'm currently freezing in a winter wonderland. But about 2 weeks ago, I went down to Brighton Beach to ask the people what they think of the NHS. Created in 1948, the National Health Service is a publicly funded healthcare system. Universal, comprehensive, and free at the point of use. But what do Brits really think about it? Is it any good? Does it work? And is it the best healthcare system if fully backed? Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe. Here we go. So as I was asking, what are your kind of general overall thoughts of the NHS?
Okay, so my general thoughts on the NHS are that I think historically it was a service that a lot of people were frustrated with, long waiting times, not being seen by the same person, just general frustration around the service that was offered by the NHS.
The NHS is a good thing, that it's a great institution, almost unique in the world, provides public, free access to health care. We need much more of it. We need a much bigger and better funded NHS because it is a good thing.
Well, I think it's very quite an amazing thing that everybody can get. Well, the principle of it is that everybody should be able to get health care, whether they're rich or poor or whatever. So I think that's good, but I don't necessarily know if it works all the time. I mean, I think we're very lucky in the fact that we can go and see a doctor or have an operation and things like that, and not worry about how much it's going to cost.
Right.
But I think that I don't think it's had enough funding, basically.
So, because you've had quite good experiences with the NHS, haven't you?
I did have, yeah. Although I have been on waiting lists, so I think waiting list is a problem in the NHS, which you don't get so much.
You don't get that in Germany.
What are your overall thoughts of the NHS?
I think we're very fortunate to have a National Health Service. Free at the point of use, and I think we're I think as a nation we're unique having the NHS as a service. Recently I was in hospital and the treatment I received was excellent. But I discovered that within the NHS currently there's a real nervousness as a result of perhaps another wave of COVID. So when I was in there, we were very well protected, very well looked after, with excellent staff. And we're very fortunate to have such good technicians, such good surgeons, some doctors and nurses that are very skilled in what they're doing.
This video is sponsored by Italki, the site that allows you to find online language teachers for one-on-one tutoring. As a new user, you'll get $10 in Italki credits after your first lesson if you register using the link go.italki.com/Easy English. If you don't like reading complicated language books or listening to pre-recorded audio courses, then Italki is for you. You'll get to practice your conversational skills under different real-world scenarios, as speaking with humans is the best way to learn a language. You can customize your lessons to cater for your learning needs and interests, and the one-on-one lessons provide you undivided attention with teachers at your preferred time, whether you're at home, at the airport, or at your local park. You have complete access. So head on over to Italki with this link, go.italki.com/Easy English to start your first lesson and get $10 in lesson credits.
The NHS, as it stands, leaves a lot to be desired, though in principle, it's the best thing that exists in Britain. But because it's been underfunded for such a long time, and because of the the coronavirus has been a real issue, it's just put another load on top of what was already a service which was beginning to struggle. It needs a lot of investment.
I was born before the National Health Service, and my mother was fearful of when I was going to be born, because her mother had died in childbirth and she'd been present. She was 12. So when there was no money in the family for an expensive nursing home, my grandfather stumped up the money and said, "You're not having the same experience as you watched your mother go through." So I was born before the National Health, but I was born in 44 and the National Health came in, I think, in 45. So she'd always glad that when I was born, I was carefully monitored into the world.
And how about you? What are your general thoughts on NHS?
Yes, I think the NHS we're very lucky to have it. I think it's very, people working in it are exhausted and need far more support than they get. And also, I think that care needs to be incorporated within the NHS. I think it's a shame that they're treated separately, because there's a huge need for both, and there's a need for more investment in both.
When you say care, how do you mean?
I mean, elderly care, people who are not well enough to stay in their own homes, but are well enough to be out of hospital. If they presently need to go into a residential care or a care home, those people who look after them are drastically underpaid and underappreciated.
It's nice to hear that, some people are very pro, and they'll sort of look over the fact that there are some problems, right?
Yeah.
There are, like you said, you had some... Maybe there must still be waiting times.
Oh,
and
stuff. Yeah, definitely. But I think that people appreciate now everything that goes into the NHS, whereas before it was just kind of a service that you just expected because, I pay my taxes, I pay for the NHS.
Yeah.
Whereas now people understand that even though they do pay, their taxes, and there's a lot of other things that go into making that service available for us as British citizens. So, it's not just... I pay for it, I, can expect everything from that service. I've got to appreciate that actually there's a lot that goes into making that service available. And we're really lucky that we have that, that we can just rock up to the doctors or rock up to the hospital and we all get seen. It might take you 6 hours to be seen by someone, but it's not going to take you weeks. Whereas, you live in another country, for example, America, where you have to pay, insurance, and, you could have something awful happen to you like COVID, and then you get a thousands and thousands of dollar bill through the post if you don't have, the right insurance. So for us to just be able to have those health needs taken care of without the worry of having that massive bill at the end, we're so lucky to have that service. So I think it's awful that it's taken something like COVID to bring that to people's attention. But at the end of the day, it has highlighted, how lucky we actually are to have it.
Do you think if properly backed, it is the best system in the world?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always room for improvement, and questions about management, about how it's organised. I think you need more workers' control. You need more decentralisation, more control by the people at the short face, the people who actually do the care. No doubt about that. But basically speaking, we need to expand it, enlarge it, improve it, and love it.
And then, do you think it is therefore the best healthcare system?
Well, my understanding of healthcare systems throughout the world is very limited, but I'm proud that we do have a National Health Service, and I think for us as a nation, we ought to be very thankful for it.
I think so. If it was helped.
Why is that? Why do you want to back the NHS?
That way, everybody can get looked after, and I mean it works for everybody if we're kept healthy, and hopefully the younger people will go into nursing and doctors and stuff like that, and keep it going.
Yeah. And last question.
I think it's a good institution that's been going for years, and we shouldn't let it go. I think we should support it.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best system. I mean, I don't think there is necessarily a perfect system out there, but I think it needs more support to maybe improve the processes that do happen. But, I don't think it's ever going to be the perfect service. But it needs that investment to make it as best as it can be, I guess, and to make it, as quick and efficient and not just efficient as in time, but, financially efficient as well. It needs that sort of investment, I guess.
There has been so much government interference with the way the NHS is structured that it's very difficult to tell whether it would work any better with more funding.
Yeah, because lots of it's been sold off to private sectors.
Yeah,
I understand.
And when it was better funded under the Labour government, most of it went into getting the waiting lists down.
Yes.
Whereas aftercare, I don't know. And social care is even worse, isn't it? So.
Oh yes, we're supposed to be having that fixed, aren't we?
They're stuck in catch-22, aren't they? Because they are carers, they look after sick people.
Yeah.
So what do they do when the government doesn't give them enough money or actually gives them the help and support that they need?
Yeah.
What can they do?
You
Go
think
on
they're
strike?
Yeah.
And then we're really stuck.
And they kind of, I guess then, like you said, catch-22, they become the scapegoats.
Yes, and everybody's, there's not enough doctors and nurses as it is. So if they went on strike, what would we do?
With everything that's happened with COVID, I think there's now a lot more appreciation for what the NHS does for us as citizens. So yes, the service is strained. There's arguments about pay, health and mental well-being of, people who work in the NHS. But I think the general population have definitely grown a lot more, fonder of those who work in that service. So they show them a lot of more appreciation than they probably did historically. So obviously, we clapped on a Thursday for the NHS and, we're more giving of... So, for example, recently I've been in hospital because I've just had a baby.
Congratulations.
And I saw that there was services that you could buy a cup of tea or a coffee for someone who worked at the hospital. So if they came down for their break, you could almost pay it forward. So you could buy for your cup of tea or coffee and then buy the next one for, a worker who came in for their their drink. So, definitely a lot more sentiment for the NHS and the service that they provide.
Thanks for watching this week's episode. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on the NHS if you've used it, or any other healthcare system you consider to be run really well, practically or in principle. And we'll see you next week. Bye.